Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Germs are running scared. Last year, communists killed 34 hard-working Americans, but germs killed over 25 million people. Your home, much like America, is constantly under attack from germs. And we all know what germs cause: dyslexia and leprosy. Thank goodness there's Blocks. Blocks sends germs running like refugees. Just add a few tablespoons to your child's bath and put them in the tub. Presto! That tingling sensation is germs dying. Now your child has rosy red skin and is 100% germ-free. Now that means little Jimmy won't catch a cold or ask difficult questions about reproduction. It's even great for Rover's breath. Now we're sleeping peacefully, free from germs. Blocks is endorsed by the Society for a Cleaner America. It uses a patented formula developed by the Pentagon for use in the field. Now it's available for your home. Some germs hate acid, some germs hate bleach. Blocks kills indiscriminately.
Shut up and sit down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Third Shift. This is episode 447, and I, of course, am your host, your funky leader, the greatest man who's ever lived. It's me, it's Matt, and I would be pumped for the show, but as you know, listeners, as you know, if I'm opening the show 2 weeks in a row, that means something's wrong. That means something's up, something's fishy, something's weird. And wait just a minute. Wasn't last week's episode a patched together episode anyway? I think it was. So it's a double weird, because this time with me is nobody, as sometimes does happen. Eric's not even here. He's not even a patched man. He's what does they say on the news? He's on assignment this week, and his assignment is dealing with family stuff. So I called him up. I was desperate on the phone. I said, dude, what about the people? He said, I don't care about the people. I said, what about the fans? He said, I don't care about the fans. I said, what about me? He said, I don't care about you. So at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about setting up a separate Patreon that's just for Matt, because I love the people and I love the fans and I love me, and I'm here to tell you how my week was this week. This past week, it was a long week because we did an early record, that was a patch record, that was a weird record. Anyway, the show came out on Tuesday of last week because on Wednesday of last week, I went to the Wharton Center to see a comedian named Michael Palisak, a Midwestern comedian, super funny guy. Just relatable humor, just fun stories and good things, and just laughing a lot. And like I always say when I go see a comedian, I don't laugh a lot. I'm not like a miserable guy, but I don't like tee-hee and hee-haw a lot. And I sure did that night. Ooh, it was great. And they had some great food there, which I definitely enjoyed. Just a great night. So great, in fact, that the very next night, I went back to the Wharton Center for a performance by Tatiana Eva Marie, who is a European jazz singer. I think she's Swiss or Swedish, but was raised with the Romani people too. So very, very eclectic. But her music was all about 1930s and 40s French jazz type of songs. From what I gather, there's a very famous French jazz composer who did a bunch of pieces with no lyrics. She put lyrics to them, and then she was up there with her jazz band. So it was a really awesome vibe, I'm in a 30s/40s French jazz club. The type of thing that I've only ever seen in old movies, old musicals, that doesn't exist anymore. It was great. Oh, phenomenal show. Again, really good food there at that special venue that they do up there. Then the next night, hey, guess what? I went back to the Wharton Center for Lansing Symphony Orchestra's Masterworks concert. This was all about Spanish composers and Spanish composed pieces. So Bolero was in there, if anybody knows that famous tune. But I got a couple things to say about the show this time specifically, and they're all good things. There were no bad things, only good things to talk about. One is they had a soloist for one of the big pieces, and she was great. She was phenomenal. And the other thing that I really loved was you could tell that she was really enjoying herself up there. When you're in a symphony, when you're in a professional orchestra, when you're a big soloist, you usually try to play it cool, I'm impassive and I'm really playing the piece and look at me go. But there were a lot of really digging in there type of things that she was doing, and you could tell she was enjoying it. She was having a blast, and it made me have a blast too because she was having such a blast, and she was smiling. And when the symphony was kicking in and she wasn't playing, you could see her kind of go like bomb, bomb, bomb for the big like horn come ins. It was really cool. A lot of fun. In a similar note, in the second violins, I think she's the second chair, shorter girl with dark hair. And I only say that so mom will know who I'm talking about. She was also pumped for the concert. You could tell as they were settling in and getting ready to go. She like sat there and like kicked her feet. And then during some of those digging pieces, she had a big old smile on her face and she would like lean in and dig in to get those notes. And the first chair who was sitting next to her is generally that like impassive look. And she's like a European lady. So she got like that fancy European lady look. So she's normally like super cool, like too cool for school type of look. But when the other lady was digging in and having a great time, she was cracking a smile. They were both having a great time. It made me have a great time. Again, like I said, with the soloist, I was like, yeah, this is fun. You know, I mean, orchestra music, symphonic music, it is fun. Like it's, you know, highfalutin and all that other stuff. But some stuff when it's booming and banging and the music's going, it's a lot of fun. It's a roller coaster ride. It's just a blast. So last thing I have to say about that symphony concert is they had a composer there. Like I said, it was all Spanish composed pieces, stuff from way back in the day, older stuff. And so the conductor came on stage and said, when we put this together, obviously there's big classic composers everybody knows of that we're going to put in here, but I wanted to get some more modern stuff in there. And inside my heart went, oh no, modern stuff. Some of that's not very good and, not enjoyable. It's weird. And he said, hey, when we announced that we're putting this program together, we got an email from the composer whose piece I decided to put in the program saying that he would be in town around the time of this performance and he would love to be in there and listen to us play. And he brought the actual composer of the piece out on stage and he was super appreciative, seemed like a really nice guy. But he said, so I want to tell you a little bit about the inspiration for this piece. And I went, oh boy, oh no, here we go. Because I've dealt with that with as you remember, longtime listeners, the composer in residence who works for LSO, and I had a bad time listening to his piece. But this guy, he was saying, I grew up in this town in Spain, and we have this very famous sculpture that either is from there or is there right now, and it's called The Ecstasy of St. Teresa. And he was talking about the history of the sculpture and how the expression on this lady's face in the sculpture, and I went and looked it up, and he's 100% true about this. When you look at it, it doesn't quite look like it's religious ecstasy she's experiencing, if you know what I'm saying, which is what it's supposed to, quote fingers, supposed to be, but it seems to depict something else. And so he said, I wanted to have that kind of weird balance where you're not sure which kind of feeling you're getting in my piece. And I went, whoa, that's cool. It's inspired by a classic piece of art, and he tried to bring that to life in his piece that he wrote, and he did a great job of it. Like, I wouldn't have gotten the message if he hadn't mentioned it. Like, I would have still enjoyed it because it was great music. It was phenomenal. But having him explain that, then I could hear it in the piece. Like, I could hear the religious versus the corporeal passions kind of going, back and forth in the piece. I could hear that. And then I was so refreshed because I mentioned him earlier, that composer in residence who did a piece and his inspiration was, I don't know, and he titled it what he did because I guess, and that was like his entire thing for that piece. And it was horrible, as you remember me saying. This guy was inspired by classic art. He had an idea in his head and he fucking executed it phenomenally well. It was amazing. Like, I was like, this is what music is. This is what it's supposed to be like. You see a thing and you tried to make that come to life and you you succeeded so well. Jeez. What a great night that was. It was a phenomenal night, a wonderful night. The whole show was great, but that especially made me go, damn, look, modern music can be alive and well made and well produced. And, oh, man, it was great. It was awesome. Then let's see. 2 nights removed from that, we're going from the highbrow, high class with the symphony orchestra to AEW Dynasty Professional Wrestling Pay-Per-View. A wonderful show, a phenomenal show. Now, I usually talk about when they have a pay-per-view, I talk about like one match that was wild, that was just crazy and just blood and guts or a big spectacle in a cage or whatever. This show, it didn't have any street fights, cage matches, any kind of big stipulation matches. I think the one stipulation that they had in one match was no time limit and everyone's barred from ringside. And it was all from front to back, top to bottom on that show, professional wrestling. And it was all awesome. It was so good. And I know I always say that, but it always is so good. And it was kind of refreshing to, after the previous pay-per-view where there was like a giant street fight and a big old cage match, and I think maybe some other kind of stipulation match in there also, to just have, boom, hey, look, we don't need that. We can do it, and we can do it phenomenally well, but we can also do just pro wrestling the best way, and it can be top of the card, top of the tier, Duke of New York, #1, and they did it, and it was great. And last thing before I get into the video game front, I know I'm running long, but it was a big week for me. What do you want from me? I wish Eric was here to have this discussion with him, but he's not. But I decided to start watching the show Severance. And I say that, but I haven't gotten past the first episode yet because I'm a weird person when it comes to shows. When I'm in the mood to watch shows, I'll watch a lot of shows. And when I'm not in the mood to watch shows, I can barely do more than one episode. Like I can barely get through one sometimes. I'm just like, I got to do something else. I don't know what it is. But I sat down, watched the first episode of Severance. Now, minor spoilers, but they happen in the first episode, so how could you call it a spoiler? And they're on season 2 now, so if you don't know the premise of the show is about people who work in this office building for this company, and they've had a procedure done where when they go into the office and they like go down to the floor that they work on, they hit a spot where they forget their life outside of work, like it doesn't exist. And when they leave work, then they forget about the work that they've done. Like that person doesn't exist. You've been severed. You're kind of two different people, essentially. And the first episode, somebody's getting replaced. So they're hiring in a new person. So that's why they're explaining all the things and how things happen. Anyway, so that's the basics of the first show. And this whole time I was thinking, man, because, Eric and I have talked about it. We're not happy at work a lot of times. There's a lot of days that are bad days. So this whole time I was thinking to myself, what a wonderful concept. What a wonderful idea. I would have this procedure done in a split second. If, man, I could walk out the doors of work and literally, like I try to do it on my own to just forget about the workday anyway, but if I could literally walk out the door as a fresh man and not have any idea about any of the silly or dumb or annoying stuff that happened at work, man, wow, amazing, awesome, cool, amazing. And then I got to like 3/4 of the way through the episode when the truth is revealed to the lady who's in training. And she's talking to one of the other characters and says something like, how do you deal with just waking up here at work all the time? I'm not sure if that's exactly what she said, but that's the basics of what she asked. And his response to her absolutely floored me. He said, well, every time you find yourself back here, it's because you chose to come back. Oh my God, I almost fell out of my chair and I realized, as much as sometimes I dislike work, and I'm not going to say I hate work because, my boss could be listening, but as frustrating as some things in work could be, every day I do choose to go back there. Every time you find yourself here in this situation, it's you that put yourself there. And I went, oh, I wanted to drive off a bridge. Not really, not seriously, but as a joke. I wanted to just jump in a river. I wanted to jump off a cliff. Oh, that went, ooh, oh, it really hurt my heart. But otherwise, that one episode I saw, pretty good. Enjoyed it. And looking forward to watching some more of it whenever the watching shows bug bites me again. But it hasn't yet. I watched that, I think, maybe Saturday. Yeah, probably Saturday. So it's been a while. I don't know if I'll get back to it, but I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. And that one episode was good. I was high. I was low. Woo! Oh boy. It was a great time. Now on the video game front, I have been playing 2 games this week. One is Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I've been doing a little bit of stuff in there. Not a ton, not as much as I should be. The other day, while I was playing the game, I put up on my iPad Games Done Quick, the speedrunning channel, and they were streaming a speedrun of the game already. So I took a screenshot of that and said, hey, Eric, look, they're already speedrunning this game. Like I think they had it down to about 2 hours. In 2 hours, you could speedrun this game. And I think we're about 2 hours in, each of us total. And I went, brother, what's wrong with us? And he said, I don't know. And I said, yeah, I don't know either. But the little bit that I have been playing, more of it, it's still great. I still enjoy it. It's wacky. It's fun. I haven't been progressing the story too much. I've gone to a couple different islands. Like I said, I'm 4 hours in, maybe, if that. But I'm enjoying it. I think I'm just on the way to Madlantis, where more story is going to happen, but that's where a bunch of the side stuff should open up. But the one thing that I've been putting all my time into is Suikoden 2 HD Remaster. And I beat it last night as I'm recording this right here. I did it front to back on stream, other than 2 spots of grinding, one for money and one for a couple extra levels going into the end game. And man, that game is phenomenal. It's great. After playing through them both back to back again, I feel like I like the first one a little bit better. But it might just be the nostalgia goggles. It might just be, all my memories bubbling to the surface. Even when I played through Suikoden 2 originally, it was after launch. It was like many years after launch. So the big emotional moment, I was already aware of it. It didn't hit like the emotional moment in the first game did when I first played through it 100% raw with no knowledge, no forethought, no guides sitting up next to me. So I feel like Suikoden 1 is still my heart. Suikoden 2 is probably the better game. But oh boy, wait a minute. I say that, but the army battles, I don't know what happened this time. It might be me being dumb, but oh boy, they seemed completely random and awful. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that because the game itself was a great experience. Streaming it, twitch.tv/thirdShiftMe was also an awesome experience. I had a lot of new followers and people dropping in and chatting and having a good time. So if you want to chat and have a good time, check me out there. And I think that was all for this week. It was a long week, and also I'm rambling more because it's just me here and not Eric here. But speaking of this week, we got some big releases over this past week. And I say big, but maybe not super big. But we got South of Midnight, which is a game that I've been looking forward to for a long time. That's not my release, but that happened this week. We got a game called Blueprints, which I believe is like a puzzle adventure type of a game. I've heard it's like genre bending and puzzly and doodly-doo, and it's getting all kinds of rave reviews, so go check that out if you're a puzzle person. But man, if you want something weird, if you want something Japanesey, even though it's by a UK-based developer, which is kind of strange, check out Promise Mascot Agency, which came out today as I'm recording this, the 10th of April, developed and published by Kaizen Gameworks, which, again, is a UK-based indie game studio, but this dropped for PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and Nintendo Switch. Okay, I'm going to just start off by saying you got to see this game in action. You got to watch a trailer, watch a review, watch something, because the vibe of this game, it's something special, it's something weird. It puts me in mind of that PS2 era where you could go to the store and pick up some weird, strange Japanese game that you've never heard of before in your life, and put it in your console and have a weird, strange time. And like a great time, but also like a not AAA and very weird type of a time. Now, I watched reviews of this from Noisy Pixel and from a channel called Source Gaming. And of course, if you remember, I did play the timed demo of this, which was an hour, a couple hours maybe, a few weeks ago when that demo was released. I got to say, this game, there's something about it. Like I said, the story of the game, you are a former Yakuza who totally screwed up a big money deal. You've lost a whole bunch of money for your family, so they exile you. They fake your death, so you're technically, quote, fingers, dead. But they exile you to this crappy town where you go in and find a former Mascot agency, which fell into disrepair, has turned into a love hotel, and you meet Pinky, who is a giant mascot, which is like a severed finger. And I say mascot, and I mean, like, if you think of Japanese mascot characters, they're these weird characters with these weird backstories, and they're very strange, but they are like a person in a suit. They're like a Disney mascot or a theme park mascot. The mascots in this game are the things. They are not people in suits. They are the things. So you find very strange mascots in this game. Like I said, Pinky is a severed finger with like little feet on the bottom of the severed finger piece and like little hands coming out of what looks like, like a severed thumb. It's a very strange character. There's like a block of tofu that's very sad that has like a bite out of the top of it. I think in the demo I met like a strange bear that was like covered in goo, like a goo bear. There's all kinds of weird, wacky mascots you meet in this game. And your job in this game is to build up the Promise Mascot Agency all over again by recruiting mascots, sending them out to do jobs like to attend store openings, do the kind of things that mascots do in Japan. And so there's a whole management aspect of the game. Like you literally sign contracts for them. You give them bonuses to entice them to come and join the mascot agency. Each mascot has particular skills, like a particular set of skills. Not like that, but they have particular skills and affinities. Like this mascot is cute and this mascot is hardworking. So if the gig will pay you extra for a cute mascot and it's a hard gig, then boom, boom, your cute, hard-working mascot is the one you want to send out there. Now, you can send crappy mascots and just get fewer rewards, So I've heard the management side of the game isn't super complicated. You can put as much into it as you want. You can be bad at it and you'll still progress through the game. But then another side of the game is driving around in your truck around the town. Like I said, it's a rundown town where like the factory that used to support the town has been outsourced to Mexico or whatever, and the town is just bleh. Like if you're in Michigan, kind of how Flint was for a long time, and maybe still is, I don't know that well. But you're driving in your truck around the town, and you're meeting with all these crazy characters. And some of them are just, you meet a mascot, have them join up, all that other stuff. But you're meeting with other human characters too who have tasks for you to do, but it involves their backstory. And as you go through their story, they get new abilities that can help you out, whether it's directly, like in the agency, or upgrading your truck or anything like that. Or they can also be helpers for your mascots, because if you send them out on missions, they can get in trouble. I think the first one you get, and was in the demo, was Tofu gets stuck in a door, because Tofu's a big, wide mascot. He tries to go out the door of the store that's opening, and he gets stuck. And so you send these helpers to go help them out of the situation. I've seen one where like an energetic doggy is chasing the mascot all around, so you got to help them out that way. This game is wacky, this game is silly, but it's also super wholesome. Like as you're learning more about the mascots and helping them like achieve their goals, you're learning more about the people in town and helping them achieve their dreams and their goals and bringing life back to the town, bringing life back to the mascot agency. There's something just, it's so silly and weird, but also touching and wholesome at the same time. The graphics aren't super great. The truck handling isn't super great, but at least from the demo, it hits that perfect niche of like, this is playable and silly, and it's not so good that it's great, but it's not so bad that I'm angry about it. It reminds me of one of those PS2 games where you'd pick it up for like $30 and you just have like a silly time with it. I don't know how to talk about it any differently than that. It's just, if you remember that era, and maybe 360 era, you also had some of those games, although I feel like the polish kind of shined up a little bit more in that era. If you remember those PS2 days though, where you'd find some weird stuff and it almost looks like it's going to fall apart, but it totally doesn't. You remember me talking about 1000X Resist that I played earlier in this year? That's got that indie feel too, where it's like, it's almost jankety, but it's jankety in a heartwarming way. Like it shines my heart up to see a game like this. Honestly, when I played that demo, the first 2 minutes I was driving that truck around, I just had a smile on my face. I was like, this is it. Driving this dumpy truck around in this low poly town, not super low poly, but relatively low poly town. And there's just something charming about it. And I don't know how this UK based developer managed to do this so well. And the other thing that's crazy about it is, this is set in like Japan. This is, there's a Yakuza is your main character. And the Yakuza that you play is voiced by the same guy who does the main character from the Yakuza games, who is Kiryu. Like there's a full Japanese dub. Like this feels exactly like what it's going for. And I think that's really awesome. On top of anything else, even if the gameplay itself was not engaging, if the story was blah or whatever, they nailed it. What they were going for was that type of a game made by a Japanese studio, and that is 100% what it feels like. When I was playing the demo, I had no idea who Kaizen Gameworks was. Like, not at all. They released Paradise Killer, which, again, I also thought was a Japanese game that had gotten translated. But I assumed this was some Japanese, like maybe AA level studio. Something like Earth Defense Force, like type of a level. But this is a UK-based indie developer, and they nailed it. They nailed the feel of playing one of those weird Japanese type of games. If you've never played a game like that, I don't know how else to talk about it, but that's exactly what this feels like. They nailed it. And on top of that, the gameplay's fun. The characters are really charming and wholesome. And I've heard it's just a blast. It's fun, it's silly, it's wholesome, it's charming. It's all the things that I've said. I cannot wait to play this. The other thing that they did right, and I was worried about this, I'll be honest, when I realized this came out today, which I realized like at lunchtime today, I went, oh no, I got more big games I got to buy. I got to get, oh man, what am I going to do? The game is $25 plus your usual Steam launch discount. They got the pricing right too, because that is exactly the type of pricing you would pick up one of these weird, small, strange PS2 Japanese games for. I love it. This game is amazing. This game is awesome. I will definitely be getting it. I will definitely be playing it. I hope everybody does too. I hope this is a big success for Kaizen Gameworks. I hope they do more things like this. Like I said, I don't know much about Paradise Killer, their previous game, but from what I saw of it, they nailed that tone too. It felt 100% like a Japanese visual novel type of weird Killer 7 type of a game that had been translated, and they did it here again too. These guys are awesome. But like I said, if that's not up your alley, check out South of Midnight, check out Blueprints. I'm sure there are other, even bigger drops that we're missing. Oh, Last of Us 2 Remastered dropped for PC also this week. So if you're a big AAA Last of Us fan, you can play that on PC now with the Ultimate Remaster. I've seen a couple of the Twitch people I follow are still playing that and loving their experience with that too. You got the AAA level, you got the AA level, you got the indie level. Everything is releasing this week. Grab something out of there. And if you can't grab any of those games that you would have to pay for with your actual human space buck dollars, you can check out some free games like over on the Epic Game Store. I think these first 2 games you get currency bundles for. Arcadegeddon, if you get that through Epic Game Store, you'll get some arcade coins. I don't know how it works really. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, I believe you also get some kind of currency bonus in there for picking it up on Epic Game Store. But the game you need to get on the Epic Game Store is River City Girls. If you remember those Battletoads days, those Double Dragon days, those River City Ransom days, River City Girls is awesome. I played through it all myself, all alone, before they dropped the co-op patch that allowed you to actually do online play with your buddies. And it was a phenomenal experience. It was just a ton of fun. It was a little more involved than I thought it would be, but it was just a cute, cool, fun beat-em-up game. Colorful, bright, fun characters. Loved it. Awesome game. Great game. Definitely pick that up on Epic. On the Amazon free games, we have a lot of games that I don't know anything about. I'll say that right off the bat. We got Dreadout 2, we got Endless Space Definitive Edition, we got God's Trigger, we got Projection First Light, we got Far Away Director's Cut, and please, for the love of God, be right. I'm going to Google it right here on the air right now live. Let's see if New York Mysteries Power of Art Collector's Edition is what I hope it is. Let's see. Oh, there's no way there's not. There's no way. Oh my God. Hope alert! Oh my God. There it is. Thank you, Steam Recap. New York Mysteries Power of Art is an adventure game in the genre of hidden objects. Finally. Now look, I'll grant you it was maybe only gone for a week, but it's back, baby. Then you go over to the Game Pass section, and I gotta tell you, hey, I was happy that South of Midnight, of course, is free on the Game Pass. So if you didn't want to drop money on it, or you just want to try it out and you got the Game Pass, bang, South of Midnight is here. Check that out on the Game Pass. There's a lot of big games coming out on the Game Pass, like Diablo 3 is also available on the Game Pass. So if you don't want to do South of Midnight with some platforming and some combat and some mystical Southern Louisiana type of things, check out Diablo 3. Do some clicking and some bashing and some top-downing and some dungeon crawling. If you don't want to do that, you can still do probably top-down and clicking on things, but you got Commandos Origins also. I have never played the Commandos series, but I think they're the real-time strategy, pointing, clicking Commandos World War II type of thing. I think that might be what this is. I'm not sure. But that wraps up the free games for this week. Now, I will give you one piece of proper news because the main news piece we were going to talk about is the news piece from last week that we missed out on because we had to do the show so early, which is the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I really wish Eric was here to bounce back and forth on that, but I did see one piece of news, and, since that's very Nintendo-focused, I'll give you a piece of news on the PlayStation front. I saw this today, and there's not a bunch of information about it, but I saw a Blue Sky article from Video Games Chronicle, who, man, their site is just abundant with ads. It's ridiculous, but they reference a tweet from Genki_JPN, who says PlayStation has silently rolled out new animated backgrounds for the PS5 Welcome tab to select users. New backgrounds for Ghost of Yotei, God of War, Stellar Blade, Demon Souls, Horizon, and more have been added to Astrobot, which was there previously. Now it says rolled out to select users. I don't think anybody is sure. The Video Games Chronicle article also wasn't sure who, when, where, why. We don't know when more people will be getting those, but I like that. That's cool. Eric and I have talked about one of the things we were super sad about when it went from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 was losing the ability to put animated themes up on your background. And now, granted, this isn't technically that. It is just for your welcome tab, which has like your widgets and your units that you put up there, like friends and next achievements. And mine has like the media gallery. So I see some screenshots of when I got trophies from games from back in the day. So it is just for that screen. Obviously, when you go to your games, it'll have its default game theme to it. But a piece of news, something that I think is cool. Like if you were really loving Ghost of Yotei when that comes out and you're playing it, why not have it on your welcome screen also, your little welcome tab? They also referenced the PlayStation 30th anniversary wake-up themes that were reported to come back sometime. Those still haven't come back as far as I know, but hopefully those come back, and then hopefully they take this welcome tab animated background thing and let you expand that to everything else, because I really loved those themes back in the day because they even changed like the sound effect, like the menu sounds, and I miss that. It's something simple. It's not something earth-shattering. But I missed that from the PlayStation 4, and I want it on my PlayStation 5 here. But man, speaking of things you want on your console, you want to know all about the things that are going to be part of your console and going in your console when the Nintendo Switch 2 hits. Oh boy, like I said, I really wish Eric was here to kick back and forth about it. I'm not super excited for a lot of the games that they announced. I'm not a big Nintendo franchiser. Like they showed off Mario Kart World, which looks cool, looks great. I will absolutely get it. I will absolutely have fun with it. They showed off a lot of stuff like driving anywhere in the world, like teaming up with your friends and like driving away from the track and driving all around the world. That's cool. I don't know. It's not my super kind of a thing, but it looks cool. They talked about technical specifications of the Switch. They showed off the Joy-Cons being a little bit bigger, having more features in them, bigger buttons for the inside buttons if you're playing with a single Joy-Con. They talked a lot about the game chat and game share and video chat, which I thought was pretty cool. I really do like the idea of being able to chat with your buddies while you're playing different games and also have you in the screen that it's showing, kind of like a video chat party with your buddies, almost like if you're watching Twitch with your buddies streaming, but you're doing it together, even though the frame rate was super low and super weird. But I don't know, it looked cute. It looked cool. I love the little camera for the Switch 2. There's something about it. I don't know. I did see that Hori, I think, was putting out a snaky camera for the Switch 2 that looks like a piranha plant, and I retweeted that and I said sold immediately. Here's a bit of news. Over the past week, somebody said, oh, it's going to have a lower and worse resolution than the default Switch camera. And I went, oh, so sad. So I'll just put that on the desk and not actually use it. Not that I would really use the camera anyway, but a cute gimmick, just a cute thing, a cute peripheral also. Let's see, they mentioned the Switch 2 having better speakers, the built-in mic having 3D audio, which is really cool. They mentioned mouse controls on the Joy-Cons, which I don't know why, but like everybody online was blowing up about. Like, well, not blowing up about, but everybody was like, wow, this is so cool. And I thought, that's kind of weird, but then they did show off something I'll mention later where it got me excited. They mentioned the internal storage is going to be a lot bigger, 256 gigs, which is nothing for a PS5 gamer, but that's pretty good compared to your Switch 1. The new dock having HDR, which is awesome, and 4K support. I don't have a 4K screen, but I do have an HDR compatible screen, so I'll be enjoying that. They mentioned multiple times that, I'm using quote fingers right now, compatible Nintendo Switch games will be playable on the Switch 2. And that made me worried, and it made me feel funky inside. It turned my belly over a little bit, and I went, what do you mean compatible? What's compatible? Because I have a lot of weird Switch games, like indie Switch games, strange Switch games. I have one physical Switch game that wasn't officially released. Like the devs gave it to a YouTube channel, the I Dream of Indie channel, and they had a giveaway, and I won it, and they gave it to me. So like it's not really even an actual Switch cart that was made officially. So will that run in my Nintendo Switch 2? I don't know. We'll have to see. I think for the majority of things, like obviously they're first-party games, there's no way they're not going to have those be compatible, especially because some of them have Switch 2 additions and enhancements. But I'm wondering where the umbrella of compatibility will end. Kind of just like Xbox's backwards compatibility. Most things were there, but some things just weren't. So I'm interested to see where that lands. I think the only other specs-related thing that I do want to mention is they showed off the new Pro Controller, which looks like the old Pro Controller, but it's got two back paddles, back buttons. And I gotta say, if you've never played with back buttons, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It never seemed like a big deal to me. But then I got my DualSense Edge. And when you are playing without back buttons, after playing with back buttons for a while, and your middle finger, that's the one I use, your middle finger slaps against regular plastic, and it's not a button, it makes you so sad. Plus, especially if it's programmable for any button that's on the Switch Pro controller's front, top and bottom, all that other stuff. It's just fun to program something like, oh, in an RPG, I open my map a lot so I can put markers on the map. Okay, that's a left back button. Beep. And then right back button is the other thing that you use all the time, like the quick save, quick load, whatever it is. Like I said, it sounds silly, but I love it. Having played with it some, it's awesome. And you just get that muscle memory feel. When I've gone back and played other games that I've played through with a back button, like I said, my fingers are flapping against the back plastic and going, no, what's the button to even, what do I got to press like the start button, the options button? What's that? Got to touch the touchpad. Oh my God. Wow. It's so weird. It's silly, but if you played with it, it's awesome. There's nothing better. Then they rolled into a million games that they showed off, a million squadrillion games, so many games. You've all heard about them by now, but a couple of these did actually get me excited. One, I had to say it. I had to bring it up. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. Okay, awesome. I played through Yakuza 0 many years ago, like before COVID type of years ago, and it was great and phenomenal. One of the best Yakuza games ever. But what's in the Director's Cut? They mentioned new scenes, but like how many new scenes? Am I going to have to play this again on the Switch? Also, I'm delighted that this is playable on the Switch because that one is awesome. Another game that I couldn't believe was on the Switch, Elden Ring. Granted, it's Switch 2. It's got more power. It's got more graphics. It's got more this. It's the next generation of Switch. But do you think about playing Elden Ring on a Switch console? It feels mind-blowing right now. I probably would never play through it all over again. I had my big one run, and that was more than enough for me, but I don't know. It's just, when I saw Elden Ring show up, I went, no flipping way. It's cool. I'm going to have to wrap my mind around the Switch 2 being more powerful. But a couple other really cool games that I noticed, Daemon X Machina, and I think this was a sequel or a prequel or some kind of follow-up. I never played the original, but this was some mecha action, flying and mecha-ing around. It looked really cool. Now, here's where I'll get back to the mouse controls, because one of the first games they showed off after they did all the tech specs and all the other stuff was Drag and Drive, or Drag X Drive, Drag Times Drive, Drag Cross Drive, where it was the wheelchair robots playing basketball. And I thought it was pretty cool, like seeing the mouse controls and like the movement controls where if you were open, you would lift up the Joy-Con 2, which you had normally been using like a mouse, lift it up and like wave your hand, and then your character did that in the game. I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty neat. And obviously, like you'd shoot with the shoot motion. But the thing that excited me the most about this, like I said, it's like wheelie cherry type of robot. So you'd move both Joy-Cons in mouse mode, like you're pushing on the wheels of a wheelchair. But what it got me excited about that was seeing the two mouse Joy-Cons, you know what I'm talking about, on the table. And they moved one forward and one back to show that you would turn your character that way. And I went, ooh. Give me a Katamari game where I control my Katamari like that, because that's how you do it on the analog sticks. You push them both forward to go forward. When you want to turn left, you pull back on the left when you push forward on the right one. Like a zero-turn lawnmower or like a piece of construction equipment where you got like the levers or whatever with your doodle daddles. But that sparked Katamari in my brain. And I do know there's a new Katamari game, but it's exclusive to Apple Arcade. Maybe it can come to Switch 2 with these mouse controls, because I'm sure Drag and Drive is cool. I'm sure it'll be a great, fun game. But man, it got me thinking about Katamari with like double mouses here and like, ooh, man, oh God, it'd be so much fun. It'd be so crazy. A couple other things real quick on the video game side of the Switch 2 Direct. Street Fighter 6 coming to Switch 2. Really cool. But they mentioned that a bunch of Street Fighter 6 amiibos are coming. And man, I tried not to get into collecting a lot of stuff. But if you give me, I do have amiibos of Ryu and Ken up here. But if you give me some amiibos of them Street Fighter 6 characters, I can't say no to that. Or Ryu and Ken in their Street Fighter 6 looks. Oh, baby. You got me. You got me sold 100%. Kimberly with like her graffiti stuff. Oh, man. Yes. Absolutely yes. Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. I am a Musou fan. I have never played any Hyrule Warriors games. I know that one episode of The Completionist before he ruined his whole life and career and ruined himself and was a bad person. He said like to complete one of those Hyrule Warriors games took him like 1,000 hours. I don't care. I would love to play some Hyrule Musou on the Switch 2. Borderlands 4 is coming. All 4 chapters of Deltarune are coming. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be on the flippin' Switch 2. That blows my mind too. just like Elden Ring did. Like, it blew my mind once, and then this blew my mind all over again. But the two that I want to talk about that everyone should be buzzing about, I assume, I don't know, Eric wasn't buzzing about one of these, but I'm still excited for it. One is the Duskbloods. What I wrote down here is FromSoft, Vamps and Dinos. Dude, you're playing as these crazy characters with crazy abilities. And the thing that Eric's not sold on and that I'm still worried about is they have announced later that it is a PvP VE game. So think of like something like the Dark Zone in The Division, or I don't know other games that do that because I don't play a lot of them, because PvE I love. I love that. Absolutely love it. That's most games that I play, that we play. But PvP, I'm going to get ganked. I'm going to get my blood sucked. I'm going to get assaulted by all these other characters, all these other people who are playing. But I'm still excited for it. A brand new, possibly exclusive, I think it is exclusive, FromSoft game on the Switch 2 with a unique spin to it. This looks awesome. It looks really cool. I got excited for it. Will I be great at it? Absolutely not. Will I be good at it? Probably absolutely not. Will I be too scared to play it because there'll be other players and I'll be scared that they're going to kill me? Absolutely, I will be too scared. But it got my attention. It widened my eyes up, and I put an underline underneath it, just like it did for Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, Eric, again, wasn't too sold on this because I don't think he likes the underground bashing and smashing and getting gems. He said, here's my Eric impression for the week. It looks like Deep Rock Galactic or something. I'm Eric. Blah. And granted, to some degree, he's right. You know, smashing through the landscape, collecting gems and bing, 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 bings. Deep Rock Galactic is, it's not as fast. It's not as frenetic. I mean, it can be, but just bashing through, like, I got a wall in front of me. Let me just run through it as Donkey Kong and smash and bash. There was something very kinetic about it, very visceral about it. But the other thing that I was very hyped about, and even Eric seemed to enjoy more, was they showed off some 2D levels, like in a Donkey Kong Country style. So, you know, jumping in barrels, booming and banging, and all that other stuff rolling through. It seemed like a lot of fun. I haven't played a Donkey Kong game probably since Donkey Kong Country original, or probably Diddy's Conquest, so Donkey Kong Country 2 on Super Nintendo. Oh, wait, no, that's not true. I was going to say I never played 64, which is true, but I did play the handheld ones, like the one where you're swinging and grabbing. What was that one called? I don't know. I did play Donkey Konga, but I didn't play Barrel Blast or, any of the other stuff. I had never played the Donkey Kong Country Returns games either, other than the one time when I was really drunk and Eric's wife tried to make me play with waggle controls and I didn't know what to do and she called me a bad gamer. Hey, there's another shout out for you, Eric. But I'm excited for this. A new Donkey Kong in a new kind of a way. Any kind of Nintendo first-party game, it's going to be solid. It's going to be good. So yeah, a lot of stuff that I breezed over, a lot of stuff that I didn't mention about the Switch 2 Direct. That again, it's a full week old at this point. Oh, hey, look, Nintendo Online expansion pack, getting GameCube games and getting a GameCube controller. Those controllers are money, I gotta say. I like to use them on my PC when I'm emulating, playing legitimately a retro game. Those are really cool. The one thing about the Nintendo expansion pack with GameCube games that they showed off a few. Some are launching here, some are coming later. They didn't show off Eternal Darkness. Where's that? I want to actually play through that again now that I'm an adult and I'm not a scared little boy, scared little baby. I would love to play through that. Add that to the service, please, and I will up my Nintendo expansion pass online thing. I'll do that. I'll do that to play that game. But like I said, a whole bunch of stuff, all kinds of games that were announced. And that's the thing that I'll wrap this up with. Not only did they show a bunch of first-party games, which are pretty cool, like Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, they mentioned Metroid Prime 4 also with mouse controls. That's a cool thing for people who are used to playing shooters with mice. I only kind of put it off because I'm not a big Metroid Prime person. I didn't go through all those back in the day, but that was something they showed off that looked really cool. But on top of all those first-party games, they showed off a ton of third-party games coming to Switch 2, a lot of them at launch. And granted, some of these are older games, games that have come out before. Cyberpunk, Yakuza 0, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade. Those have been out before. But if you only had a Switch before, you could not play these games even remotely. You couldn't even dream of playing these games on a Nintendo console. And now they're coming, and a lot of them are coming at launch. So if you buy yourself a Switch 2, and maybe even if Donkey Kong Bonanza is not a launch title, maybe if Mario Kart World is not a launch title, Metroid Prime 4, maybe that's not a launch title, you have a ton of cool stuff to play at launch on this console. And I think that's awesome. And They said, again, the launch date of the console is supposed to be June 5th, and pre-orders were sort of open, and then they were closed, and they were sort of open, and then Nintendo Online has their own kind of a strange pre-order system. But then, of course, shruggy hands, all the plans were up in the air, and maybe things are going to be delayed because of tariffs in the U.S. And I don't know politics. I don't care about politics. I can't speak to that at all. The only thing I can say is, give me this console. Give it to me. I already mentioned the last time we were talking about the Switch 2 that it feels wrong to not get it, so I was going to get it anyway, but I'm going to get it. I'm definitely going to get this. I'm going to have fun with it. It might still be my tertiary console, just like my regular Switch is now, but every now and then I'm going to bust it out and I'm going to have a good time. The last thing I will wrap this up with is, since the Direct has happened, a bunch of the accessory makers have finally either announced or dropped pre-orders for their accessory kits for the Switch 2. I know D-Brand, who is a company who makes stuff that I really like, they dropped the announcement and pre-orders for their Kill Switch case. But the only reason I mentioned the Kill Switch for the Switch 2 from D-Brand is they specifically mention you slip your Joy-Con into their grip that's like molded to the size of a human hand, and it's got thickness to it so you can grab onto it and not get hand cramps. I think it literally says, say goodbye to hand cramps when you use our things. So I put in my pre-order for that. I let Nintendo.com know that I was interested in pre-ordering the Switch 2, so whenever that happens, I will be hopefully first in line. Probably not first in line, but I will do my best. I'm excited for it. It looks good. It sounds good. The games that they've showed off look really good. I like everything that they said in the Switch 2 Direct. It got me excited. It got me sold. So they did their job. They did everything right. Just like you can do everything right by answering this week's question for Uncle Matt's Trivia Corner. What a segue. Look at me. I'm a professional boy. Now, if you remember, the previous week's question, which Eric skipped out on, and I think that's secretly why he's not here today, because he knew he would have to answer 2 questions on the clock, and he would be too nervous and scared, and he would blow it, and he'd feel bad, and they'd start yelling at me. So if you remember last week's question, then I'm not even going to ask him anymore, because he would never get it anyway. It was, which Batman supervillain attacks and incapacitates Scarecrow in the sewers of the 2009 game Batman Arkham Asylum? That is and was Killer Croc. And this week's question, this is the one that I knew Eric would get, so I'm specifically not going to ask it to him. If he's on the show with me next week, he doesn't get a chance to answer this because he made a poor decision today, and he let you down, listeners. He let you down. He let me down too, but he let you down the most. Anyway, this week's question. What is the name of the ghost-like creatures introduced in Final Fantasy VII Remake, which attempt to ensure that destiny is not altered? If you know the answer to that question, or if you have any other kind of questions, comments, feedback, mailbag questions, if you want to tell me more stuff about the Switch 2 that I didn't cover, that I missed, if you want to tell me that you're excited for it, or you're bummed for it, or anything at all, send that to me. You know what? Send it to me, because it's me this week, via the email thirdshiftme@gmail.com, on the Twitter machine @ThirdShiftME. Find us on Facebook under Third Shift. Hit up the Discord. Hit up the Patreon. Good golly, hit up a stream if I'm streaming, because I've been doing that a lot more. I got really good news that is going to let me stream a lot more often, at least for now. So check me out there. I don't know what I'm going to stream next. I got 2 things in mind, and one of them, it might be a white whale of gaming. It might be one of the white whales. But check that out there. And what is it that Eric goes into? Hey, guys, give us a 5-star rating on the iTunes, on the Spotify, anywhere that you can drop us a 5-star rating, do it. Because it turns us into a soul and we shine like a toilet bowl. That's a bad rhyme. Don't do that. Cut that out of the show. And I'll tell you that you can also support us by listening to the very next episode, which will be dropping on or around, I think, the 16th of April, because I think I have a show on the 17th. But you can find it regardless of which day it drops on iTunes and Stitcher, on Podbean, on Spotify, and on YouTube. And as I always say, hey, if you like what we're doing and you'd like to help us out, please give us a like, a rating, a review, a comment, a subscription, any kind of good thing on any one of those good services, because it does help us out, and we really do appreciate it. And I think here's also where Eric says 5 stars. So did you talk about 5 stars twice? Or what is it that I'm missing that I feel like I missed something in the first one. Does he talk about like finding him on Reddit or Tumblr? And that's not it. I'm usually so busy pulling up the date and massaging my brain to find out what the calendar is like that I don't know what he says in the first part. I know here he says, give us a 5-star rating, you mother, you pieces of shit. And he threatens to train your dog to attack you when you get home if you don't give us a 5-star. Like, he's not going to do anything bad to your dog, but he's going to teach them that you're bad because you didn't give us a 5-star review. So when you open the door and you go, hey, Wolfie, it's time for your afternoon walk. Wolfie's going to go, and he's going to jump on his. It's going to be a bad time for you. So give us a 5-star review anywhere that you can do that. And check me out on Twitch. Drop a Prime sub. Give us that stuff. Oh, that's what he usually says. He goes, go in the Patreon, go in the Discord, have a little chuckle with us. Hey, go in the Discord and see the meetings that I have to go through that are about, hey, you guys should use AI at work. And to describe why AI is good, we went into the AI tool and typed in, please tell people why AI is good. And then it came up with something and we copied and pasted it straight into a Microsoft PowerPoint slide to tell you that AI is good because we couldn't think of like a real reason why you should ever want to or have to use it. But AI told us to do it, so do it. That's my life. That's my life. I sit in meetings like that all the time now. Oh, golly. If only I could be severed, like in the hit TV show Severance. Anyway, okay, so I'm going nuts. I'm going crazy. And with that, there's nothing else to say but... Don't forget to say yay. Don't forget to say. Don't forget to say.
Shut up and sit down.